Guys, ClickUp, 800,000 teams on the platform, 85,000 are now paying, caught north or around of 80 million bucks in revenue, on path to break caught 150, 200 million next year. Crazy growth going back to their Series A, 200 million valuation, Series B in 2020, $1 billion, and now $4 billion, but Zeb's just getting started. Some interesting news coming up, it sounds like, on the M&A side. They're continuing to build great products for productivity teams, one app to replace them all, or to empower them all, or to power them all. Hey folks, if we haven't met yet, my name is Nathan Latka. I launched and sold my first software company back in 2015 and went on to write a book about it, which you guys made a Wall Street Journal bestseller, purchasing over 30,000 copies. Thank you so much for that. After the book, I launched this show and went on to create founderpath.com. I raised a large fund to do non-dilutive deals with B2B software founders. So far, we've invested in over 400 software founders, totaling $150 million. Here in 2024, we're doing 3 to 4 new deals per week. So if you're looking for capital and don't want to give up equity, go sign up at founderpath.com for free to get your offer. All right, let's jump into the interview. Hey folks, my guest today is Zeb Evans. He's the founder and CEO of ClickUp, the all-in-one productivity platform that empowers more than 300,000 teams and 3 million people around the world to save time and live more productive lives. He's a serial entrepreneur. He started several software companies with over 100 million in revenue with a focus on building tools that increase productivity and save people time. Zeb, you ready to take us to the top?
Let's do it, Nathan.
How much of this productivity focus, you casually mentioned it in your last round financing, you've had 4 near-death experiences. How does that actually make you move faster, and how do you pass that urgency off to your team who maybe hasn't had 4 near-death life experiences?
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, those experiences made me obsess over time and efficiency, right? And productivity is equivalent to time. And so on a personal level, it's time. On a business level, time ends up being money. So businesses should care about productivity more than ever. Individuals should care about it more than ever for where their time goes. And so, for us, it's easy to cascade down to everyone in our company when everyone sees the impact of the product that we're creating. We can kind of create that obsession and that culture around saving people time and making people more productive.
Mm-hmm. Now, you 18 months ago had bootstrapped, I believe. You launched the business in 2017. You'd bootstrapped, I think you shared up to like a $20 or $25 million run rate, right?
Yeah, we bootstrapped until our Series A about 18 months ago.
Yeah, but I mean, again, nice scale of revenue, very capital efficient, because you'd only raised, I think, 2.5 million in convertible notes up to that point, right?
Correct. Yeah, those convertible notes were actually mine that I used from a previous company to fund. So yeah.
That's hysterical. Was that Mango?
It's called Fast Followers. We did social media marketing and automation.
Oh, really interesting. Okay, but guys, I'm bearing the lead here a little bit, right? Because so 18 months ago, only 2.5 million raised. It sounds like of his own money, which is great, but bootstrapped in. He hadn't raised any VC, and then said, you know what? I fell in love with David Sachs at Kraft. He talked about that on our last episode together, so we're not going to rehash that. But my gosh, Zeb, something got in your blood because you raised about $500 million since then. What's driving sort of this? Like, where have you? This is, in my opinion, this kind of capital. You are now a capital allocator. Right. And it's like, how do you allocate capital to hit this productivity goal for the world? So where are you allocating capital today?
Yeah, and I'll start by saying I think that I'm still very much an advocate for bootstrap as long as you can until you get product market fit. Through getting product market fit. After your product market fit, raise capital in efficient means when you know unit economics and you can spend capital in sustainable ways. I think so. It's still as ridiculous amount of money that we have raised at $500 million. It's still we still very much focus on doing it in a sustainable way where we have a net positive impact after spending every single dollar. And so to answer your question, we, of course, marketing and paid acquisition is a big piece of growth, and particularly in a very competitive category. We have to outmarket and outmaneuver our competitors. But product and innovation and R&D always has to be top of mind as well. At the end of the day, the only defensibility that we have is moving faster than our competitors and building a better product and a better user experience than they can as well. So acquisitions will certainly be on our radar in the very near future, as is scaling globally. We're opening offices around the world and being able to localize our product in several different languages as well.
Give me a quick team update. Last time you came on, you shared that you were just breaking about 140 employees. I think you're over 600 now. Is that accurate? And if so, how many engineers?
Yeah, we have just shy over 800 employees today, and on the engineering side, about 100 engineers.
And so you've done a really interesting thing in terms of, I think you have, at least in terms of quantifying your engineering power based off number of integrations you've launched. And all of your comparable pages, where it's ClickUp versus Jira versus Trello versus Monday, you talk about, again, more integrations. Why is that marketing line working so well? And how have you instrumented your engineering team to pump these integrations out so quickly and keep them updated?
Yeah, we say one app to replace them all. That's the familiar messaging that we place. But the reality is, we're not trying to replace every single application. We do think that we can put all of your workplace productivity software in one place, and that is ultimately our true mission. And outside of that, we play very nicely with every other integration on the market. And so we built our platform in a scalable way where we can build integrations very quickly. And we can also build features very quickly that actually use separate teams that don't even affect our core product teams, but are still within that same platform, the same ecosystem. So we've been very mindful of doing that since day one, because essentially, with our vision, we're putting 15 different products inside of one. And so it's traditionally that's not the thing to do in software, right? You're supposed to do one thing and do it well, and we've kind of always been the antithesis of that.
Talk to me about growth. So since 2020, when you guys decided to go in and do that Series A, 35 million Series A, how much have you grown revenue since then?
Yeah, we can't really talk specific revenue numbers right now. But we've grown. We now actually have 800,000 teams that use our product. We had 200,000 when we raised our Series B, and I believe around 100,000 in Series A. So you can kind of back the math out there, and we've grown roughly 4x since our Series B.
Mm-hmm. Now, I think you said in the press release for the round, you have 85,000 teams who are actually paying. Did I read that correctly?
Yep, 85,000 paying teams.
And so that's against 800,000 that are using you all together. Are you happy with that conversion rate, or is there room to improve there?
There's always room to improve everything, for sure. And we just started building product growth teams that are more focused on activation, retention, and of course upsell, monetization, increasing our free to paid conversions. So there's always room to grow in everything.
How are you structuring those teams? Can you tell me about the last little SWAT team you put together and what they're attacking specifically? How are you motivating that team?
We have always had a very functional focus to product and engineering in the first place, because it's such a wide product, right? You can't have everybody do everything, every engineer do everything. So we've always had these teams focused around our core product. Now what we've done is really hyper focus them on very individual features, so that you have a squad of 5 to 6 or 7 people. You got a PM, you got an EM, you got a few engineers, and usually a designer that's tied to each of those.
Project manager, engineering manager.
Product manager and engineering manager. Yep.
And then I cut you off. Sorry. I want to note this down. So those 2 are part of the 5 to 7 squad. What are the other 4?
Then you have engineers. So depending on the feature, maybe it's more back-end heavy. So you'll have 4 just back-end engineers. If it's front end, you'll have a mixture between those. And then you'll have a designer that's kind of tied to that team, which we don't actually count as part of that team. So that'd be a +1 in addition to that, because designers have multiple teams. And so that's what has allowed us to scale EPD, like engineering, product, and design, is building these hyper-focused teams that are focused on very, very specialized pieces of our product. And product growth is one of those teams.
Can you go deep on one of those? I mean, can we talk about the new Docs product a little bit more, and the team specifically around that and how it's split up?
Yeah. So our Docs product actually is one of our larger ones. I think it's 12 people. So it's kind of an abnormality there, but it is a big piece of our product. And so that is we have a real-time collaboration. There's 2 people working on real-time collaboration. So that's, if you picture any doc where you can see somebody's cursor and typing, that stuff is very complicated to make great. And so we have 2 people that are fully focused on that. And then within that the rest of that team, we got 5 or so front-end engineers and 3 or 4 back-end engineers. Then you've of course got our PM, product manager, and you got an engineering manager there as well. And so Docs was one that we've been working on for a long time in the background. It was probably a 6-month ongoing project that we've been working on, because we really felt that we needed to be the kind of the category leader there in our space and get feature parity with those point solutions in order for people to replace those point solutions with ClickUp.
How do you think about putting together these mini squad teams for digging for new ideas? Like the PM is talking to 100 customers a month. They're testing stuff with the engineering. And then can you tell me a story about one that you shut down where you spun that team up, they tested it for X amount of time and you said no because the metrics didn't work or whatever?
Yeah, we have a Zeb team also, and the Zeb team is for the things that you're talking about. Really, it's for the bets, right? The big bets that we're taking, and it's really our early kind of principal engineers that are on my team, and we take big bets. So I have an idea on Monday, and we'll try to get it shipped by Friday. Lots of times we will test it. We'll only put it in certain workspaces. You've got to enable it. We'll see how the feedback from that, and sometimes we'll shut it down, and sometimes we'll continue shipping. But it's the fun. It's the fun piece of my
Zeb,
job.
come on, tell me about your Latka, because people read you in the press. They go, "This guy can't do anything wrong. His shirts look great. He's got a great smile. He's raising all this money." What's the last thing you had an idea on Monday and it just flopped on Friday? I mean, it was just bad.
There's been several things that we shipped half-assed, right? We shipped 10% of it, and we just never finished it. A feature called lineup is honestly, it's one of those where the whole vision for it was to be able to prioritize your work and know exactly what people should work on next. So picture a list of 5 tasks that's each person has in your company this is their priority. It just never took off. It never really went anywhere. And so it actually still exists in our product. And I know we'll be able to get back to it at some point and use automation to make it better. But that was certainly a flop.
Round that team out for me. How many people are on the Zeb team?
6 people.
6. Okay. And is it PM, EM, 4 engineers?
So I'm the PM and the EM. So it's 5 engineers plus myself.
I love that. Okay, very cool. So you still get to participate in that on the ground, test that stuff, day one sort of stuff.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Exactly.
You've held on to that. All right. Yeah. Tell me more for people that maybe don't know. I mean, you're the guy that's in the videos, you're doing all this stuff, but you do have a CTO that you've worked with also at a prior company, Mango, which sounds more like a venture studio where ClickUp is the thing that took off. Tell me about your relationship with him.
Yeah. So Alex was at IBM when I found him, and I knew I needed a very technical CTO and co-founder to build this thing with. And so I had always been pretty technical myself. I know how to code, but I was using old technology. Right? I knew PHP, and I don't really know JavaScript, at least in the back end side of it. And so when we were starting, and by the way, Mango is just the name for the parent company for ClickUp. Mango is a DBA for ClickUp.
So that wasn't a venture studio. You weren't testing a bunch of ideas. It was ClickUp from day one.
No, you're right. We were testing. We actually were going to do a Craigslist competitor where you could pay in app and remove sketchiness from Craigslist. And we built ClickUp as an internal tool in order to build Craigslist. And we just I had always been obsessed with efficiency and time, again, from those near-death experiences. And so I was always that person that was trying to squeeze out an extra hour a day and trying to get an extra 10% more productivity for everyone on the team. And that's why we built ClickUp, was so that we could do that. And it wasn't one of those like Slack stories where, we were using it for years and then kind of decided that this was the product. It was like a matter of a month. It was like a month where we started building this, and we just realized we were more passionate about this than the Craigslist idea, and that there was a lot of opportunity here, even in a very competitive category.
Now, Zeb, you had no idea, Alex had no idea where ClickUp would be today back then, right? So maybe you do things differently. But back then, did you guys just split to, let's just split equity right down the middle, 50-50 day one, or did you do something different?
We did something different. I was the one that was funding everything still, so it was all my bets as far as the resources go, and I wasn't being paid a salary or anything like that. So it was definitely different than I think your normal.
Well, you can say then you can quantify that for what it is. You're betting on yourself. You had some success, right, and you said, I'm going to fund this thing. They'll take less equity, but I'm going to pay them a lot. I'm going to take nothing. I get it. Where did you make money before ClickUp?
Yeah, so I've been an entrepreneur since I was like 5 years old. So I was always doing something. Every year of my life, I have some type of story of a hustle. But I actually I had a mobile DJ company, an entertainment company, and a friend and I of mine we were managing some rappers. Actually, when we were at Virginia Tech, and we were managing a couple of rappers. And
this was after your monorail days at Disney, I assume.
This was after my monorail days, and we. There was a problem that we noticed where, like, in big events, maybe it's not a problem anymore, but when there's 10,000 people in one space, you didn't have cell phone service back then, and you couldn't send out tweets and we were managing these rappers' social media. You couldn't send out tweets, And so that's where my brain got spinning, where I wanted to just like being able to automate sending out tweets. And then I wanted to be able to look at who's following you. Back then, they didn't have APIs to do that. Twitter didn't have their own reporting platform to do that. And so I kind of just built things that scraped your follower list and was able to show like who's following you. You could automate engagement with people. And so we kind of, it was a SaaS model before I knew what SaaS was. We started getting people paying a monthly subscription. And then it turned into more, what we found the real money was managing more high profile celebrities' social accounts in order to gain followers, gain engagement, and increase the quality of their content based on who was following them.
How much revenue did you do in the best year there?
Several $1 million.
And you sold it?
I did not sell it. I actually, so I had my third near-death experience, and I realized during that period that that business was not adding net positive value for the world. I actually felt bad about it. I was like, we were inflating people's egos on social media, and we spent 4 years of my life doing that. And so I felt like I had wasted so much time. And so we shut it down. That we paid everybody 6 months at the company, but we shut the company down. And that was when I moved out to Palo Alto, drove across the country from Virginia, and thought that, I got to Palo Alto. I was picturing Vegas with startup lights, just like startups everywhere. And you get to anybody that's been to Palo Alto, it's like the sleepiest town in the world. In fact, they have an ordinance against putting signs up.
It's like the sweet green on the corner is the most exciting thing you're going to see.
The sweet green and the ice cream shops.
Yes, yeah. That's exactly right. That's incredible. Okay, so you shut it down in 2016, but what you're saying is you were running that profitably. You took dividends enough where you could fund the 2 convertible notes early on into Mango and ClickUp.
Exactly. So that was, it was, I mean, we got to a point where, we had like 25 grand left in the bank account. So that was like enough for another month's runway, really. And I had a little bit of money left, but not.
Wait, when was that,
much.
Zeb? What year?
Had to be like 2017.
You had 25K left in the bank.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
so you'd burn through like $1 million at that point then.
I think more than that. It's probably 2 million. And it might have been 2018. Yep. But the point is that, we had about a month of runway left, and we were getting to, a point where we didn't know if this was going to be successful or not, and we could not raise funding at the time. And so, I was like thinking to myself, like, should I invest a little bit more money? I really only had like 200 grand left that I could put into it. And so I pulled my head out of product and started focusing on go to market, and we added paywalls, and we introduced promotions for one of the holidays that was during that month. And literally in a matter of like 45 days, we were net positive. We were cash flow positive. And so the bank account got really low. I think got down to a couple of grand. But we turned it around, and we became net positive.
2018, was that your first $1 million revenue or your $1 million run rate?
I believe so. I'm not the numbers person, Nathan. I'm the product marketing.
Alex is engineering. He's definitely not the number person. You had to be the number person back then.
I still was more like, look, when I realized we had 25 grand in the bank account, I realized we had 20. That was the first time I realized it. I should have been thinking about that 6 months ahead. Like, how much are we burning? And that was after we cut down a shit ton of our expenses, where before we were spending much more. I think we were spending like 100 grand a month, and we started cutting things down within like 30 days because I was like, shit, we're running out of money. So yeah, I honestly haven't really been that numbers person.
Crazy. Well, hey, before we wrap up here, I would love to get some numbers out of you if you're comfortable sharing them. I'm only asking this one because you've already shared valuation in the press releases, $4 billion recently, $1 billion in 2020, but I don't know what you raised a 35 million at. What valuation did you raise at the 35?
Our Series A was 200 million.
Cool. There you guys have it. A little bit interesting news there. If that's manageable. I like how you're managing. I mean, you're basically selling 10% every time you're doing a round. So you're really nicely managing dilution here. You're not going to be one of these CEOs where if you go public, you only own 5%, right?
Exactly. And a little trick, convertible notes is a really great way with a cap to invest in your own company if you ever want to invest in your own company.
Full disclosure, I don't understand that. Why did that give you leverage? Why don't you just put in money directly? Why do you need to put on a note?
Well, so I put in a cap at 5 million. So essentially I was investing at a 5 million valuation. And then when we invested at 200 million, your notes convert At that same, I mean, I got like another 30 or 40% of the company.
Oh, so it's basically a way where if that Series A investor says, please put up a 15% like ESOP pool, you can sort of get some of that back with a note conversion because they're happening at the same time.
Well, you normally, if you would get, and this was several years ago, where 5 million wasn't out of the ballpark. I mean, now 5 million is very low for convertible note cap. But if you have 5 million convertible note cap, you would expect normally to raise a Series A much sooner, right? Much sooner at like a 40, 50 million valuation, and then it becomes realistic. When you raise at 200, those convertible note investors get a bit much bigger portion of the company than they would have previously.
Hey, last question before we wrap up. We're 2 minutes over. Cut me off if you have a hard stop here. But cash and bank and M&A. How are you thinking about M&A? Our M&A strategy is, I don't want to say too much about it. We'll have some announcements to make soon. But we only really focus on things that can be part of our core ecosystem. We are a unified productivity platform, right? That's always. Yeah, but no one's going to build better than you, Zeb. I mean, when I look at this product, I don't understand how you look at anyone and say, you know what, we're just going to build a better, sexier version. Why would you ever buy someone and deal with the operational risk there?
Well, so we're not looking at competitors to buy, where we'd have to roll up teams and roll up products. But what we are looking at is somebody that these companies that built something that we were going to build that would take us 6 months, a year to build. We're buying time, and so if we can buy time and find people that are within our culture, with our values, but that also know how to move really quickly and have built something awesome, then that's something that we are open to. And like I said, we'll have some announcements to make very soon.
You think you're going to buy your way past $100 million in AR next year with the acquisition announcement coming up?
We will be far beyond 100 million next year.
You think we'll be more than 200?
Yeah.
No, seriously, you'll be more than 200, Zeb?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's incredible. But you're not north of 100 today. I have you right now pegged at like 80.
That's close.
He's like, he can't comment. I don't want to push you too hard here. That's impressive. You remind me so much of Johnny at Hopin. Like he came on a year and a half ago. With no revenue, and he's basically bought time and bought his way. It's a crazy strategy. Is there enough deal flow out there for you where you feel like you can go buy a company doing 30, 40, 50 million in ARR for a relatively okay price?
No. Our M&A strategy is we don't focus on the revenue part of it. Our M&A strategy is purely product focused, product and team. So acqui-hire and product.
Interesting. Very cool. Let's wrap up quickly with Famous Five. Number one, favorite book.
The Slight Edge is what we make everybody read at our company. It's about 1% growth every day. But I love the Everything Store, Jeff Bezos. But
yep. Number two, is there a CEO you're following or studying?
I'm always a Steve Jobs person.
Number three, what's your favorite online tool for building ClickUp? This is going to be hard. You can't say ClickUp, but you do so much. You have to pick something else.
Figma.
That was hard for you. Okay. So are you going to be building tools? I mean, look at Canva. Are you going to be building tools for designers here? Or are you going to focus mainly on, productivity teams?
We focus on just productivity as a whole. There will be things like virtual whiteboarding in the very near future. But at the end of the day, we're not trying to compete with point solutions for designers. No.
Number four, how many hours of sleep do you get every night?
4.5.
That's not a ton, is it?
No, it's not. I actually have. I was diagnosed with narcolepsy a long time ago, and I went to a Tony Robbins conference, and he only slept 4 hours a night, and I was like, I've got to try this. I used to be that guy that slept like 12 hours, and I was always wasting time. And I started sleeping less, and I was more energized. I changed a lot of things. Don't get me wrong. I changed my diet, changed my health, but I also was able to sleep less. So I sleep 4.5 to 5 hours now, and I feel great.
I love that. All right, 5. And then I think you had a birthday, right? You're 31 now?
I'm 32, but you can say I'm 29.
32. There you go. All right, 32 years old. And Zeb, situation, married, single?
Single.
And no kids running around?
No kids.
All right, just click up on the 12 product babies under. Last question. Something you wish you knew when you were 20.
I would say this is like everybody's just figuring it out. Everybody's just fucking figuring it out as you go. Whereas I used to think that especially the big tech founders knew exactly what they were doing. And the reality is entrepreneurship is just figuring it out. Even when you get to our level and beyond, the huge CEOs that I talk to, I just spent a week with Richard Branson, and he himself is just figuring everything out as he goes, right? Just really taking big bets and hoping that they work out. And then when they don't work out, maneuvering really quickly and changing. And so I wish I knew that that's what entrepreneurship was, but that's certainly one of the biggest lessons that I've learned.
Guys, click up 800,000 teams on the platform. 85,000 are now paying, caught north or around of 80 million bucks in revenue. On path to break, caught 150, 200 million next year. Crazy growth going back to their Series A, 200 million valuation, Series B in 2020, $1 billion, and now $4 billion. But Zeb's just getting started. Some interesting news coming up. It sounds like on the M&A side, they're continuing to build great products for productivity teams. One app to replace them all, or to empower them all, or to power them all, whatever is politically correct. But Zeb, we're rooting for you, man. Thanks for coming on the top.
Thanks so much, Nathan.